Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into something literally all of us deal with every single day, our time. You know that quiet, nagging pressure to constantly be productive? Yeah, you're definitely not alone. We're going to unpack the philosophy behind why stepping off that endless treadmill isn't just, a nice idea, but actually absolutely essential to our very existence. So, let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Be honest for a second. Do you feel a pang of guilt or maybe even anxiety when you just sit on the couch and stare out the window? Because we all feel it. It's his visceral, underlying stress of the modern rat race. We live in a society that practically demands we're always on, always doing, always achieving. And when we stop, even for just a second, a little voice in our head whispers that we're failing. But today, based on our source material, we're going to completely flip that script and figure out where that guilt actually comes from.
Part 1. The Relentless Race and the Trap of More.
Think about the breathtaking pace of your average week. We are just constantly rushing to do, to possess, to compete. Every single day we're bombarded with messages tying a better life to endless consumption, right? We're pushed to spend every ounce of our present energy on the promise of a better tomorrow. But here's the massive irony. We sacrifice our actual present reality for hypothetical promises. We literally trade today for tomorrow. And the result? Even when we're surrounded by possessions of every conceivable kind, we're still restless. It's like we're running a full sprint on a treadmill, chasing a finish line that just keeps moving further and further away.
Now, I want to slow down for a second. Just listen to this observation from the text. Time lost for the sake of existence itself has almost disappeared. That is heavy, right? Our state of simply being is basically lost in forgetfulness. We are so wrapped up in doing, analyzing, accumulating, that the very act of just existing, of taking time to just be alive without an agenda, has practically vanished from the human experience. Which brings us to Section 2, the forgotten inner world, and neglecting the psyche.
To really wrap our heads around this, we have to define consciousness. Whether you call it the psyche in psychology or the soul in mysticism, it's not something you can physically touch. It's the immaterial lens through which we experience the whole world. And its absolute coolest feature? Its capacity to look inward, to grant itself the time just to be. But here's the problem. When we're perpetually running after external things, consciousness kind of forgets what it is. It gets tangled up in this constant, uninterrupted doing and gets entirely lost in the noise.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how much of the suffering in our contemporary society traces directly back to this exact philosophical problem. Because we put such a huge premium on exaggerated pragmatism and materialism, we are literally starving our immaterial nature. We only care about material concerns, and the costs? They're devastating. We're talking anxieties, depressions, widespread unhappiness, and deep feelings of unfulfillment. The text points out that these aren't just random occurrences. They're the direct result of banishing our inner world.
Moving on to Section 3, the immaterial consciousness, matter versus essence.
Consider the wild contrast between these two worlds. On one hand, you have the concrete material world. It's perishable, it's fleeting, it's constantly decaying. Everything ends. On the other hand, you have the ontological realm of consciousness. The text argues that consciousness manifests itself as infinite, right? It's without end. Think about it. Consciousness never truly dies in its own experience because it physically can't process its own non-being. It has an immortal essence. But day to day, it's forced to interact with a concrete world that is constantly falling apart.
And this leads to a profound irony. When our infinite consciousness relies entirely on perishable things, it generates a perpetual lack of meaning. It's continually trying to mirror itself in objects that simply do not define it. This creates a deep emptiness, a massive distancing from our true essence. By obsessing over the material, we're basically starving our infinite nature.
So, how do we fix this? Section 4, relearning to waste time, where the cure is actually waste. And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate paradox of modern life. Society constantly tells us that daydreaming, falling into thought, or just, existing is wasting time. We totally condemn it. But actually, scratch that, it's the material things we obsess over that are experiencing true entropy. Material things are always being lost and destroyed by processes of change. They rust, they break, they end. They continually reveal a total lack of lasting meaning, creating this dependency where we just try to replace what's lost with something bigger or better. Honestly, the material world is the real waste here.
The absolutely crucial point here is that we must recover time in its immaterial sense.
Time isn't just a measurement or a quantity or some calculable projection on a corporate spreadsheet. When society condemns wasting time, it's just a symptom of exaggerated pragmatism. It's masking a profound existential necessity. Granting ourselves the time to truly fall into thought isn't a loss. It's a vital, non-negotiable requirement for our mental well-being, our survival, and our connection to our own consciousness.
Which leaves us with this final, incredibly empowering challenge. Knowing that stepping away from the relentless pursuit of the material is literally an existential necessity, how are you going to choose to truly waste the next hour of your life? Will you grant yourself that vital existential time? I highly encourage you to log off, step away from the concrete world for a bit, and go reclaim your inner essence. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.